Hello, welcome to the authors. My name is Fred Durham, and I represent the Friends of the Chautauqua Writers Center. We are a volunteer group that tries to encourage writers and writing at the institution and beyond by both supporting and supplementing the official activities of the institution Writers Center. Just as an example, we sponsor weekly activities. Thursdays, the Authors Hour, so you're at one of our activities right now. Sundays during the season at 5 o'clock on the second floor of this building, we hold an open mic for writers 18 years old and older. I think most of you qualify. That final open mic was held this past Sunday. We don't have one at the very, very end of the season. On Tuesdays at 1:15 up in the poetry room on the second floor, we offer informal critique. You can bring in one page of your writing, poetry or prose, and a published author, often me, but not always, will lead a discussion of your work. Those are the weekly activities. At halftime, I will tell you about our annual special activities. But let's get to the reason you're here. It's not the Fred Durham Hour, it's the Authors Hour. Our first author is Deanie Rowan Blank. She was born and bloomed near Chautauqua in Jamestown. Her sister Susan, also a published author, lives in Panama, the city, not the country, just down the road from here. So Deanie continues to spend time in Chautauqua from her home in Connecticut. Deanie began the serious pursuit of life as a poet following retirement as a mental health clinician, program director, and national consultant. He has attended several sessions of the W.B. Yeats International Summer School in Sligo, Ireland. In fact, Deanie has just returned from a reading tour in Ireland of her recently released book, Walking Naked Under a Yellow Rain Slicker. So, all you voyeurs, hi, Deanie Blank.
Thanks for showing up for hearing myself. That's wonderful. All right. Yeah, thanks for showing up, especially for the two of us. Fred, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. What else? Michael and, oh dear God, I've done it again. And his beautiful wife, wonderful poets. I'm thanking them for what they're doing this week with the poetry. Yeah, thank you. At this age, I'm forgetting. You wonder how I got the title, The Walking Naked? Well, I spent time in Sligo with the Yeats Summer School, International Summer School, and he wrote a poem that was a metaphor for his work entitled The Coat. He was really annoyed at poets who were sort of stealing his ideas and trying his techniques, but not doing as well as he did. And he ends the poem with, "For there's more enterprise in walking naked." Now, the second part of the title, Under a Yellow Rain Slicker, is to let you know that I do reveal a lot in this book, but I have to say, not everything. Not everything. So, let me read you a few poems from the book. I won't read too many of them. There are four sections. One is the pulse of grief. One is the impulse of, close that off, I can't remember. This is the impulse of joy. The third is the spur to persist and thrive. And then, because I like animals, the fourth section is my menagerie. And I believe, how do you say that? So from the pulse of grief, a short poem. The gift of grief. The dawn of death. Strained endurance, the dusk of death, more fairly received. I do not damn the midnight of death, for it is the dark portion of a fully lighted day. So here's a little advice that I learned the hard way. The poem titled, When You Don't See What's in Front of You. I was in a workshop with Kwame Dawes 2 years ago in Manhattan, and he gave us pictures and said he wanted us to write a poem right then about the picture that we were looking at. So it's the image of Louise Bourgeois with her latex piece, filet, huge piece, and it's a photograph by Robert Mapplethorpe. So you know about Mapplethorpe. When you don't see what's in front of you, in white and black, Louise Bourgeois sits before Mapplethorpe's camera with a glint in her eye, aware he might create a controversial photo. He cradles her carving in immense common carve from the crook of her right arm to her hand. Her little girl grins, prepared to face the future. I admire her mellow, knowing smile. Oh, on second sight, with brighter light, I see beyond her elbow and discover she grasps a fist of a different sort, the thing a codpiece can find. I consider her character anew, clear now, be delight in blissful to nothing. This is about my dad, who is Irish. A lot of the poems in the book, not a lot, but several, are Irish themed, which is one of the reasons I ended up in Sligo and got close to Willie Yates, as I call him. Beneath the rowan tree, I drank a pint of stout with my dead dad in Sligo's McGlynn last night. He was singing with the boys just like he did when I was a tot. He could do bawdy tunes with his brothers on Saturday nights, and on Sunday mornings, tenor hymns, every tenor voice. He never saw this land of his father, never saw much of his father either. A boy, a lone boy, he drank milk from cows on the farm where he boarded. He told of new cow pies warming his bare boy's feet on frosty winter mornings. This may be why, when in the company of these critters, I crow, mellow cows, and their noble lovers, the noble beaux, bulls, gentle and courtship. The cow always will win. Their young dart about with eyes big, new to the outdoors. Cows give wet dishes, warm milk, rhythmically streamed to stainless steel pails. It is their bad fortune to be unable to bat flies from their eyes or scratch their behinds in the field, unless near to a rowan tree. Though common, they are Irish. These Joycean, silky kind, innocent nannies to humankind. My dad did not cast a cold eye on death. I promised him my ashes also would be sprinkled with wind, warbler, and buzzing bee beneath the rowan tree, in view of a grazing cow or two. So my mom was Italian, so just so be careful. Cooking cream of wheat, milk swirls, stove light glows, gold and ice blue on waves, the sheen of new snow. With heat beneath, a sweet smell rises. Foam breaks out as alabaster grains mix to thick, drifting memories. I see you, flirting flapper, in the tarnished silver frame. You were the eldest, left coveted classes to help when your father could no longer climb into that bituminous pit. I saw you sublimely posed in another frame beside your white trousered groom. You wrung clothes with the old Maytag after work in the cellar in the night. You washed stains of my pubescent embarrassment, said when sex was best, thought yourself with bones, became bent, drunk. It's okay, it's me, I'm your daughter. You who could play a saxophone, balance books, dress a ground to be pound like loaves and fishes. Here now, cooking cream afleet. You don't have to really do that. Let's see. I have a couple of pretty long poems in this book, and one is titled Naked Echoes, and it's a full day in one woman's life. You can guess which woman. I'm going to read just a few pieces from it. Naked Echoes, 7 a.m. I slip out the townhouse door, dash through drizzle, over puddles to grab the Times. I hang his wet rain slicker in the hall, Billy in leather sandals, all natural. I'm shackled, a bit dotty. 12 noon, there's several times in between, but 12 noon. Tickets take more time than expected. Late for lunch with friends, all writers. They forgive. I promised myself to quit this bratty tendency to be tardy. Lentil soup and salad, then on my way. First, a high-test fill-up. Stop at the market. Artichokes look great. I pick 2. Consider time it takes to steam them. Make their thornily, fleshy, stiffly sharp hearts tender. These plants, knights in armor, prepared to protect hearts in peril. "5 p.m. I'll tell you, I have a friend. I've had a friend for years who is no longer with us, but this is a phone call from my friend. 5 p.m. The phone. It's Jan. Best friend. We've lately been calling over martinis. Talk of his asthma, her headache, his prostate, what the president did this time. How was Santa Fe? Can we manage to meet before fall? 40-some years, yet again, we crack up. Oh, after my first husband died, a couple of years after, she said, Deanie, you got to start living again. So after my first husband died, so we crack up recalling the lamp cord I tripped over in that tawdry Isla Mirada motel on the way to Key West in the rented red convertible. Met those 2. My friends complete my arboretum, persimmon, ironwood, balsa, Jan, the teak timber. 10 p.m. Memories cloud around me. Really remembering, that's after a shower. Really rememories. Nothing remains the same in the remembering. Sadnesses, madnesses, things, exhilarations, fears. A cascade of failures with family, with friends. My mingled skin drawn together by love, amorous and kindred, fated to part by broken expectations, by death. Memories, like stars, endure, and contrary to the cosmos, brighten in the remembering. So, as with artichokes, I cautiously peel off the sheath of leaves, gently pull away the choke to savor the center. An imperfect process, just getting to the heart. There's a short piece of variant. I use a word that is a sort of a made-up word. My first husband, before he died, had a small stroke, and in addition to his Parkinson's, and he used the word. He said to me when we were driving, "All right, you be the nag-evator." So, all right, is my future behind me? No, frailty is not this woman's name. Dark musings will not die. dominate my life. Yet, like Sisyphus, it is tricky to navigate this absurd road. I know echoes of my story. I know echoes of my glory. Let's see, we're getting near the end. Oh, so I mentioned my husband's. I've had two of them really fortunate because they were both pretty big guys. And I'm not going to read poems too much about them, but I will one about them. It's short. It's the only poem I can remember of my own. The other thing is I will mention, Joe was my first husband, Jerry, my second, who died 2 years ago. But I gave them different names, Matt and Tim, in the poems to protect the innocent. So one of my family members wasn't clear. She said, "We had 4 husbands." So anyway, the men I married for Joe and for Jerry. To those who know me well, this will come as no surprise to you. This is what I'll tell. 2 bright guys with tight eyes. I'm not going to read you my animal poems, but they're bad. Let's see. The last poem. About a woman, you can guess again who. Post-menopausal bone scan. Her pelvis perfectly aligned, arms hugged the hips. We lay on slab as the scanner had its way with her. This broad's bones weren't so bad. But one day, she'd turn up her toes. Hence, lying there, she began to plan her own memorial. Body bones roasted, hedonistic habits toasted. A fit song of quips in the wake of something sober. Violative, grandio duet, a grand denouement. Cinder remains scattered beneath of each tree, not a real tree, on a breezy, blooming day, and a crusty crony, dodging bone dust, might be heard to say, "Can't deny, she was a great piece of that."
Thank you so much, Deanie. I don't think I'll look at artichokes quite the same way ever again. And I do nominate Negavator as a new addition to the Oxford Dictionary. Just a few words about our annual event sponsored by the Friends of the Chautauqua Writers Center. Since it's the end of the season, all of them are in the past tense for now. At the beginning of the season, we sponsored a reception with friends right here on the porch. Free light refreshments, okay, for people interested in literary arts. A couple weeks later, we sponsored a book fair for Chautauqua writers. So if you've written a book, you are a Chautauquan because you are here and you're eligible for that. We also sponsored the Favorite Poem Project, started here by Robert Pinsky when he was Poet Laureate of the United States. At that, selected Chautauquans read their favorite poems, as the name would indicate, and briefly explain why the poem means so much to them. We also sponsor a writing contest for writers of all ages, and that wrapped up at the end of July with, I think it was August 13th, we gave the prizes out. All those events we hope to repeat, plus those weekly events I mentioned earlier, next year. I urge you to consider joining the Friends. We're at that point in the season. If you sign up this year, your membership will be good through next year. So it's like getting a bonus week, okay? Right? Let's move on to our next.
Can you just mention my leftover books from Ireland?
Oh, yeah. Books are for sale. Leftover books from Ireland and others. Okay. Okay. And I'll try to mention that again right before we break. Okay. Thanks for the reminder. So, our next author is Henry Hank Danielson. He was born and grew up in nearby Lakewood, New York. Graduated from Southwestern Central High and spent his youth sailing and boating on Chautauqua Lake. Shortly after graduating from Grove City College in 1967, he married his high school sweetheart, Julie. After working in Pittsburgh for the first time, he and Julie joined the Peace Corps and were stationed in Africa on Makoma, a 2 by 5 mile island in Lake Malawi. With no resident whites and 5,000 Africans, they taught 80 students 2 at a desk, English, science, health, history, math, and geography at 2 grade levels without, for the most part, any text, just a rough outline of what they were supposed to prepare them to do on the final state exam. Wonderful, an island full of crocodiles, poisonous snakes, witchcraft, and wonderful people. At the end of the Peace Corps, they traded in their airline tickets for travel around the world and back home to America. And shortly after returning, Hank got a job teaching English at Jamestown High School, a job he kept for 31 years. He and Julie retired in 2000. He taught courses, besides regular English courses in science fiction and creative writing, and Julie was a chemistry teacher at Southwestern High. Summers found them sailing the 5 Great Lakes, but that was just the beginning. For their 20th anniversary, they sailed to Bermuda. And after retirement, they sailed the Caribbean, and they sailed across the Atlantic, and then they spent years exploring the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. I was expecting the next city they sailed to Mars or something like that. After selling the boats in Turkey, they continued to enjoy a retirement in Western New York and Florida. Hank Danielson.
Thank you very much, Fred. I appreciate it. I thank all of you coming to be here with us today. I actually did write 3 books. The first one is Island People Finding Our Way, and it's about the Peace Corps experience. The second is this one. I'm going to go through that today. It's Island People Deep Water Dreams. And this is about sailing, and I've got some maps if you want to see them up here. You're welcome to them. But we're going to be sailing from the Virgin Islands, where we started with this boat, preparing it to cross the sea, south into the Caribbean, back north to Antigua, where we joined the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers, a sailboat race across the Atlantic, and then racing to Bermuda, up here, and then across to the Azores, and then to England, and then south to A Coruña in Spain, and down the Spanish and Portuguese coast to Gibraltar, and through the Mediterranean. Now, I wrote the book about it, and you can buy the book, but I also included in my writing a number of poems from time to time when I was inspired about something. And I'm going to share those poems with you today. So I'm not going to retell the story. You'll have to get the book for that. But the poems have some insight in what was going on and what it was like to do this. And so here we are. We begin with the first one, Preparing Our Girl, Tapestry. So civilized, the dark teak, the perfectly even steps, the ship's wheel, polished brass and varnished wood. True symmetry, her soul, glowing varnished teak spaced with holly, orderly and efficient. With a Japanese engine and American sails, she is tapestry. An American sloop that sails the clear blue waters of the Caribbean. White sails among struggling black men and women, shy and gentle, bright and capable, but largely unable to sail their own crystal seas, hung up by slavery and punished by lingering prejudice. They buy gas and race the human race over bumpy paths, keeping left on narrow roads, crashing over speed bumps, and chasing the European dream in circles on a tiny island. We are tapestry, denizens of a northern land, hoping to avert tropical storms and sail smoothly in shimmering tropical waters. Okay, introduction, that was our boat. From there, we have Virginalia. What are the Virgin Islands like? Virginalia, 15 men in a dead man's chest, wrote Stevenson. This is Robert Louis land in warm, sunny, showery Virginalia, place of left-hand drivers, uniformed children, hot winds, and deep, woeful smells of decomposition, sweat, and procreation, of black belongers and white guests growing darker under a hot tropical sun, where sparkling waves chase each other to the shore. Here, averted glances define citizenship, and children play freely among discarded beer bottles and crushed cans. Tortola, the turtles are few, but green volcanic peaks jut skyward. White buoys dance on crystal waters, and a virgin land is violated by greed. Here is soft brown skin and the flowing music of brown-eyed black men and women who have found paradise and plan to keep it. Okay, from there, we notice the weather. It's hot. It's hot at Crown Bay. Hot breezes in January, sunburn on white skin, villages stink, diesels pant. It's hot at Crown Bay, short shorts, reggae music, unshaven men, shapely women. Sudden showers, lovely yachts with cut flowers. It's hot at Crown Bay, but folks mellow, black and white, old and young, talk and laugh and enjoy and be cool, man. And it's hot. Julie's sister was going to meet us on the island of St. Lucia, which is miles south of St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. And we decided to sail down so we would meet her at St. Croix. Unfortunately, one of the things one shouldn't do in a sailboat is use a calendar to plan a voyage. You should look at the weather. But unfortunately, we had to be there when the plane landed, and so we went. St. Croix to St. Lucia. She drives into walls of water that pummel the bow and roar over the hatches, the doorways, slide up the windshield and drain from the cabin top. Lee side down, breaking waves dance with our bow wave, lapping deck and stanchions, stressing drain, making heaped puddles in corners. Damned by the wind, we hold on to keep still, bounding through waves, heeling far over, hoping that strange shrouds out here, where there is no rescue, just warm rolling ocean, playful with waves, the big kids playing rough, out here where the water is warm, but filled with sleek menace. Out here it is beautiful, dangerous, wonderful, exciting, bountiful. It is the West Indies, a little bit of Africa, a little danger in the Western Hemisphere. We make no problem. Okay. We went south, we continued south, and we went down until we felt the boat was getting ready. We were tuning it and getting it ready for the ocean crossing. And we turned around at a place called Mystique, a very isolated island. It had some lovely homes on it, some very nice restaurants. But on the African side, we went round to the African side, and one night we just dropped anchor in a little bay there and spent the evening. And this poem is called Imagine. Imagine an island, a tall island with swaying palm trees and aromatic gardenia bushes. Gardenia bushes, tall ones with pungent, sweet-smelling blossoms. Imagine that. Not hot, but just right. The moon is rising over the hills on the island, and you are watching it from a small yacht in the harbor. The boat sways back and forth on its mooring and rolls in the seaway. The breeze carries the pungent tropical scents of the jungle after rain. There's a little bar on stilts over the bay. It has a thatched roof and open sides. Inside, a band is playing music that sways with the rhythm of the rolling boat. The men in the band are playing drums and singing. The rhythm is soothing and pleasant. The wind is changeable as it carries the rhythm of the band. Mostly it's gentle, but sometimes there's a gust that causes the boat to tug on her mooring. The moon is clear and bright, just past full, but occasionally a cloud pushes in front of the moon and obliterates it completely. That cloud might bring rushing rain, causing us to dash from the cockpit of the boat to shut the hatches and ports, closing out the music and the bouquet of the tropical night, leaving only the odors of recently cooked fish or a warm diesel engine. Sometimes life is simply wonderful, but give us a dark cloud, and though things may not change greatly, they seem to. And so we headed north. And we went north all the way back to Antigua. Antigua would be the beginning of the race, crossing to Bermuda. When we were on the island of Bermuda, we met a couple on another boat who were going to be sailing across with us. They had started at Antigua, and the McDonald's had two little girls. One was 10 and one was 8. And they were readers, and they would read to us sometimes over the single sideband radio as we were going. And they'd read poems, and they'd write poems, and they were fun kids. And when I first met them on, one of them on Bermuda Island, I just bought a bag of ice. We don't drink usually when we're cruising, but when we got the anchor down, a glass of rum was a good idea. And I was coming back with the ice, and this little girl looked at me and she said, "You Americans are all the same. You put so much ice in your drink, you can barely taste the whiskey." And I nearly dropped the bag of ice. I never had a kid say anything like that to me before. So anyway, she said she was going to have a poetry contest going across the ocean. And everybody could write a poem and she'd be the judge. And since for many years I had asked kids to write poems for me and I'd been the judge, I thought that would be a real honor. So I did. And this is a poem that I write for. I called it Or to Hoe. And we gave it to them in the Azores when we got there. Or to Hoe. The wind was light and lazy. At the start it drove us crazy as we sailed our way to Horta's distant shore. Rumbled by us Rumpelteazer with a red sail, if you please, sir. But Alcid, she was a leader more and more. After her then, there was Buckle, a strong sailor, fast and supple. But the rest of us, we lingered. Winds were poor. Well, we whistled up a gale then. Winds of 50, not for frail men. Rattled rigging and tossed china to the floor. While some of us thought, amen. Little girls were on the side then, reading poems of their mas and bras and more. Our laughter made us linger to wet our pointer finger and find the winds were fairer than before as they carried us off to Horta's distant shore. Well, that was my poem. And guess what? I won, and this was my prize. The souvenir of the Azores. Great fun, great fun. They were delightful kids and a wonderful family as we got to know them better. We continued on our way across the Atlantic. We got to the Azores, spent time there. We went on to Great Britain, went across the south coast of Britain as far as the Isle of Wight and Portsmouth, came back to Plymouth, and then went south down the coast. We went across to Coruña, where we visited a former student of Julie, and then continued down the coast to Rota, Spain. At that time, it was getting to be August. And in August in Europe, everybody's on vacation, and it's a good time to put the boat to bed. So that's what we did. And this is a town we found in the corner of Spain, Rota, a small town on the southern coast of Spain, the Algarve, home to Ponta de Leon, one of Columbus's pilots, crazy. Thousands of scooters, narrow streets, small cars, friendly Spaniards, wide beaches, narrow glasses of hot coffee, flamenco dancers, late night dinners in tasteful restaurants. Rota, a place to come home to, swaying palms, friends, a little bit of home in southern Spain. From Rota, the next year, we started out, launched the boat, and headed for Gibraltar. The Pillars of Hercules, the gate to hell, at the entrance to the ancient world. An opera house, a still lake, towering waves and a Neanderthal skull, gunpowder, and wetted wooden wedges helped carve these dark tunnels. Man-made caves that still house steel cannon. As playful apes pounce on tourists, eat macaroni, and fight amongst themselves. And it's true, if you go to Gibraltar, they'll sell you macaroni, and you can give it to the monkeys. And they'll climb on your shoulders and look for lice, I think, in your hair. I don't know. It's rather strange, but you can do that even today. From Gibraltar, we headed for Morocco. We could go to Spain, but best of all, we'd get out of the EU and restart our clock. We had another 18 months we could be there, and so we did. And we went to the place called Tetuan, where the king of Morocco keeps his yacht. And they said there wasn't much there, but you could go and check in, and it was easy. And there is a market. Maybe you could go to the market. And so we did. Tetuan. Rashid in the silver Mercedes, driven by profit. I will make you happy. Police have two eyes. They see and they don't see. Arab women with covered faces sell their goods from tiny spaces. Berber women in conical hats, laden with goods turned from the camera. Beans and lentils, dates and nuts, skinny chickens hung by the leg and huddling in cages. Cigarettes, one by one. Weavers of rugs, sellers of gold. Ancient, narrow streets, very, very old. Have a sardine, grilled or cold. Averted eyes of bearded sages, strawberries and fresh fruit. Let me show you a rug. People die. Rugs last forever. Make me an offer. 200 years. Silk from the mountains. Alpaca and wool. We take plastic. You know what I mean? Speed limits on rear bumpers. Depends what you pay. Morocco. Land of dust and sand. And you paid too much, sucker. Okay, that was kind of a shocker. That was fun. Okay, from there we went to Cartagena. This is the southern coast of Spain, and we went across to Cartagena, called Cartagena Afternoon. The May sun beams down over Julian's castle, and Isaac Pearl's first submarine rests on a fountain. Africans built this city to thwart the Roman invasion, and Hannibal brought his elephants here to ascend the Alps and slow Roman advances. City of marble and granite, a Roman statue and outdoor theater. Strategically placed, a perfect harbor, conquered and conquered to rise again better than before. Cross-shaped cranes pick at the dead city from the ashes. The ancient is revisited. The modern and the very old, protected by heavy steel and locked doors, in a city in coastal Spain, sit side by side. And slender women in fine clothing shop and watch their men toil until mid-afternoon, when everyone goes to sleep. A new culture, Spain, siesta, something to learn. Great fun, wonderful time there. We continued along. We went to the Balearic Islands up the coast, and then we went to Sardinia. And when we got to Sardinia, once again, the culture changed. French to Italian. Stintino, thick buildings of white and tan, pink and brick, rest on a brown land with green bushes, thick and red and beige tile roofs against a perfect blue sky, stone streets and sidewalks with surprised steps. I glance at her pretty face and stumble. Curvaceous sloops, lateen-rigged, fly these waters, adding bright colors to pastels. Church bells play Ave Maria at 7. Buongiorno, giorno, grazie, prego, ciao. Italian, not Spanish, no. But a wonderful experience as well. A little reference to the boat again. Julie, of course, was there with us and had recovered from cancer before we left. Had to have her port removed, and she sails with us and began writing, doing artistic work. And this piece is called Artista. She sits in the cockpit, knees together, looking forward, then down at the pad in her lap. Her hands move carefully on the paper. She draws the wall, the tower, from the American perspective. A visitor to Italy with American baggage, she looks and tries to understand, to feel the texture, the curve, the line, the thickness of the wall. She finds the gate by drawing the wall. She penetrates a little of this Italian world, a pink house with green shutters, open just a crack. And indeed, that's what she was doing. She was writing some poems. We went there to Bonifacio, city of the Strait. Napoleon and Charles V lived there in the old city high up in the hill in Bonifacio, built on chalk cliffs that overhang the sea, grottos beneath echo with thumping waves as restaurants above teeter on perilous ground. Tourists climb from the ancient floor to the walled city, walk narrow streets, buy souvenirs, and eat French food in rough, dark rooms. It takes your breath away, this ancient city of course. And course is what? Of course, the French call Corsica. Again, we're in another culture. How much time?
One short poem.
One quick one. Okay. The last poem we have is called The Bridge, and it's Fiumicino in Rome. In Fiumicino, there's a bridge, broken and stuck in the down position. Cars and walker cruise happily through, but trapped sailboats are stuck in dirty water, teased by beckoning winds in the deep blue of the Mediterranean Sea. This bridge is the key, whether stuck up or stuck down. Unless the bridge works properly, the journey is impossible. Language, too, is a bridge. When the bridge functions smoothly, we can learn and grow from our contact with other cultures. When the bridge is broken, we are only tourists, peeping Tom, buying trinkets, and watching for oddities in a silent movie. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Very evocative poems, and I'll be sure next time I introduce you to say that you are an award-winning poet. Love some of the phrases, like minutes and all that. Very, very good. We do have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has questions for either of our authors, I see one raised hand back there. You have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to know, that on the map, you have a line, I think it's north of Spain, so inland. Are you taking a land trip, or did you find a river to up?
Yeah. Could everyone hear that question? It's talking about a line on the map, whether there was some sort of inland trip or not.
Okay, the line north of Spain,
Do you want to answer it?
I had it upside down. Okay. Oh. That line north of Spain really goes to A Coruña. And A Coruña is a town that is just on the very northern coast there, north of Portugal. And that's where we went.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Any other questions? Just a few final announcements. One, a reminder that yes, we have books for sale. I also wanted to tell Hank that we got this special stand so it could replicate the sensitivity. Okay. Sorry about that. Upcoming literary events at 3:30, the poet Freya Amanpour will be reading from her wonderful book, The Wild Fox of Yemen. I was privileged to review that for the CLSC on Monday. It is powerful. Tomorrow at 12:15, the prose writer of the week, Lenore Micah, will be delivering a brown bag lecture entitled "The Personal Has Always Been Political, Reframing Narratives as Political Acts." Unfortunately, we are at the end of the year, so that's pretty much the literary events to announce at this point. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you next year. Take care. You're welcome. Let me just stop the recording here.